Oh, hey guys. I'm gonna try to carry this coffee out the door without knocking everything over. And hopefully, actually, you know what? Hopefully this video won't get confused by me changing Wi-Fi networks. I'm not entirely sure what will happen, but we'll see. So I just got off a call with a client, and a topic came up that I realized is super important, and so I just thought I would riff on it in a little bit. Oops, oh my gosh, that's me spilling my coffee. Classic Sandra move. What's up, Seth? You're like my most regular live stream audience member. It's awesome. And please let me know if you can't hear me or anything. Luckily, I only spilled the coffee right in front of my own room instead of all the way down the pathway. So here's what I wanted to riff on a little bit is the essentially like the question of what does success mean to you and the importance of defining that for yourself. I'm so grateful to the call I just had with my client, who I won't say anything about the client or any of their personal stuff. Client, if you watch this at some point, thank you for spending time with me, because I think this is super important. And if it looks like my face is red, it's because it is, because I got totally sunburned yesterday. You should see my back too. It's like, I don't know if it shows up on video, but I got fried. I like put a little sunscreen on my chest and then thought I'd be at the beach just for a second, but then I got sucked into a really amazing conversation with a friend, and before I knew it, like tons of time had gone by. So I'll be staying out of the sun for the next few days, but torched, yeah, pretty much. So just I'm trying to figure out how to like talk about this without saying anything about any personal stuff. So the client and I were talking, and basically the topic that came up with was like, what is your definition of success? And here's what I think is super common is that we, just through our conditioning, through our, parents, our peers, our whatever school we went to, whatever community we grew up in, certainly the culture that you're from, if it has us like a strong sense of what success is, which I think many cultures do, we adopt all of these different ideas about what it means to be successful. And in some ways that can be super helpful. It can be very motivating. It can be inspiring. It gives us something to shoot for. But in some ways it can be so freaking harmful. And that's what I think is important to kind of untangle is like, what are the things that society or your community or your culture or your parents or whoever you're influencing, your influences, what are the things that you were taught equal success? And are those things that you still believe or that you want to believe or that are helpful to you? And if not, what do you want to believe instead? So for example, let's say, I'll just give a couple different random examples. So let's say one person comes from a very affluent life experience. Like they have maybe parents who are very wealthy, and let's say that in that community, the kid is taught growing up that success equals wealth, or success equals, having a certain kind of fancy car, or success equals living in a certain kind of house, or success equals a certain amount of, what's up, LJ? What's up, Drew? And maybe success equals a certain amount of money that you need to make as a family, or whatever it is. Like success equals very specific material things, or a certain level of wealth, right? So that could be one example. Another example could be that, let's say you come from a culture. So I work with a lot of clients. I have a lot of clients who are immigrants. My theory is that because I'm an immigrant myself, I probably attract people with, similar challenges and similar life experiences energetically. And so I end up with a lot of immigrants. I also end up with a lot of people who are children of immigrants. And one theme that I see super consistently is that we adopt this mindset as immigrants or as children of immigrants. Muchas gracias. Keys to success, everyone. Keys to the new room. And so one of the things that happens with the immigrant mindset is that we're taught that like success equals basically working really hard and being successful in your career, and period, end of story. What's up, Heather? Nice to see you. And which, that can be great. It can be very helpful. For some people, it's super motivating to be taught through their influences growing up that like, you know, career is important and go do something meaningful and strive for excellence and make a difference in the world and, you know, make great money so that you have resources to live your life, blah, blah, blah. Like, it can be very helpful. And there are a lot of ways where we can train ourselves to see the helpful parts of that, but it can also be super harmful because let's say you grew up with maybe both of those beliefs, that success equals being excelling in my career, or success equals making a certain amount of money or having certain material things. But let's say that the person becomes so focused on those two things, career success and material, you know, accumulation or wealth accumulation, that they then only equate success to those things and their self-worth becomes wrapped up in it. So then let's say something happens, like maybe they're on a great career path, but something happens, the economy turns, whatever, like something that's kind of out of their control turns, and they, oh my God, super large ant crawling all over me. And then because their self-worth is completely wrapped up in their career success, or because their self-worth is wrapped up in their financial success or having a certain car or whatever it is, that starts to be really harmful, because then it's like all of the other beautiful, amazing characteristics and things that makes you you, that makes you a human, that makes this person who they uniquely are disregarded because it's only about career, it's only about money or whatever it is, right? So it can be super harmful just in terms of a worthiness thing. And I can't tell you the number of people, at least in my world, that I have conversations with on a daily basis who lack self-worth or lack self-esteem or lack confidence because they believe that success is only equal to these certain things, which they maybe currently don't have right in that second. You know, it doesn't mean they never will or they haven't in the past, but it's like, oh, if I'm in between jobs, or if I haven't figured out what I want to be when I grow up yet, then I equal like bad or wrong, or I'm not a whole person, or I'm not a good enough person. Another common one that I've seen is finding a partner, and this one can be really deep, right? Depending on your culture, where you came from, how you grew up. Maybe you reach a certain age and there are some serious expectations around you better have found a partner by now, right? Which, like, I would argue that finding a partner is a very personal thing. Like, even wanting to be in a partnership or not is a very personal thing. The kind of person you want to be with, you know, your gender identity, your sexual preferences, like all those things are so personal, whether, you know, even if you have a partner, whether you want to be married or not, or whether you want to have kids or not, like there's so much stuff around partnering that's so personal, and like really nobody has any fucking business telling you what to want other than yourself, you know? And yet we come up against all of these expectations, especially culturally, I think sometimes, where it's like you're supposed to be married, you're supposed to have a partner by a certain time, and you're supposed to be married by a certain time, and you're supposed to have kids by a certain time, otherwise you equal bad or wrong, and people start worrying, or people think you're less than, or they judge you, or, and this is one of the worst ones I see, is parents make their child feel bad for not having, you know, fill in the blank, found a partner, gotten married, or gotten kids by a certain age, and they start comparing their kid to other kids in their community, and they're like embarrassed on behalf of their kid, and because they are so worried what their peers are thinking, and so basically like the parents are trying to find their parents. The parents have their own self-worth wrapped up in the success of their kid, success being whatever their definition is, you know, my kid having found a partner, my kid having a great job, my kid making enough money, my kid, you know, doing all these things that make me proud. And so it's like the parents are trying to live vicariously through their kids, and they're going to be embarrassed, and they care too much what people think and all this stuff. So it's just a really, I would say it can be very harmful. It doesn't have to be harmful, but it often is. But at the end of the day, it's just not helpful most of the time, right? And so the point is, we all grow up with different ideas about what success is, and those can be all sorts of things depending on how you grew up. But what most of us never do, and if you do this, amazing, keep going and tell other people to do it too, right? But what so many of us don't do is figure out what success means to us personally. You know, like for one person, maybe success really is about like excelling in their career. That's what they want. It's their deep desire. They really want to, you know, be visible. They really want to go super niche in some career where, you know, they can have a huge impact on, I don't know, curing cancer or whatever it is. For some people, it really is about like making money is super exciting, and that's super important. But it can be all these different things, and the point is, it doesn't have to be what your parents thought it was. It doesn't have to be what your culture or your community or anyone else who is telling you what to believe, or directly or indirectly. You get to decide for yourself what success means, right? So for me, for example, and actually haven't like written this down or thought this through, so I'm just going to kind of do it on the fly. But if I was to define success on my for myself, and again, this has nothing to do with what I think success should look like for anybody else. Like, my wish for everyone is that they figure out what success means to them and they go for that on their own terms, right? This is just what I personally want. Success for me, like, yes, there may be certain career or financial or material things, but the ones that are the most important, the ones at the core, are first and foremost my relationship with myself, I would say. To me, success is being so committed to and invested in my own personal growth that I'm always growing, I'm always learning. Success is identifying and healing my wounds, and I actually believe that we all have trauma. Some of us have really intense trauma, some of us have really light trauma, some of us have trauma that's like inherited from our ancestors and our communities, our culture. Some of us have trauma that's just a product of living in the world we live in today, whatever it is, right? So it's like we can have trauma, we can have conditioning, we can have all these limiting beliefs and things. So to me, part of success is taking the time and giving myself the gift of working through that stuff, whether it be going to therapy or working with coaches or reading a lot or just being introspective and like learning about yourself, right? So success to me is giving myself time and space for personal development, to grow and learn as a person, to become a better person, to let go of the things that are, not helpful, and to move towards being, doing, and having what is in alignment for me. Another thing about success would be like looking at the relationships in my life. Much more so than money or career or material things, is like our relationships are so much what make up the real richness of our life experience, right? So it's like in my relationships, whereas so many of us, I think, are taught or conditioned to look at success in relationships as like, are you with a partner? Is that partner a certain way? Are they successful? Do they look a certain way? And like, sure, that stuff matters, but it feels like such bullshit compared to what's really important. Like, to me, what's really important in my relationships is that we can be authentic with each other, is that I can have real conversations with people and not just have small talk, is that I have relationships that are based on things that are important to me and important to the other person rather than superficial things. I think it's great to have, friends and relationships with people who you enjoy similar things. Maybe you both like watching sports, or maybe you both are interested in hiking or something, and that's great too. But for me, it's really important to have relationships where I feel seen, where I feel heard, where I can help the other person feel seen and heard, and where we can talk like soul to soul and, mind to mind, and not just about whatever, something not as deep. So like, relationship with myself, relationship with others. To me, success is living with integrity or congruency or alignment, whatever you want to call it, like, which to me means my thoughts, the way I feel in my body, the words I speak, and the actions I take, and the things I go do in the world, like how I be in the world, how I'm being in the world. If all of those things are in alignment and are congruent and are in integrity, that to me is huge success. That's amazing, and that's something I'm always striving for, and I'm sure a long way to go, but it feels like a steady measure for success. Like, do I feel aligned? Do I feel aligned? Do I feel aligned? Like, am I showing up and acting and behaving in a way that's actually who I am, or am I putting up a bunch of facades because I'm scared to show my true self or whatever it is? Another marker of success for me would be, can I communicate authentically? Can I speak my truth? Can I actually say what I mean? Do I mean what I say? Am I just like spewing a bunch of bullshit because I'm trying to impress people, or because I'm trying to fit in, or am I actually saying what's true to me? Or maybe it's success for me is also about boundaries. Like, do I know myself enough, and do I know what I want enough that I can ask for it, that I can say no when I mean no? Most of you who know anything about my journey know I struggled big time for many, many years, decades, with people pleasing, right? Because I was so concerned with everybody else being happy first and being seen a certain way and being liked and all that stuff. And so for me now, success is letting go of people pleasing. Success is asking for what I want, like boldly and unapologetically. Success is making requests rather than hoping people figure out what I need. It's like there's so many things like that. So relationship with myself, relationship with others, communicating in a way that feels really authentic, living in alignment. Those are all things that to me define success, without even talking about career or success or money or career or money or material things at all first, right? Like, Success for me means also, I'm just thinking about like health and wellness, like living in a way where I take care of my body and I prioritize that. And I'm, making choices. Let's say I'm making choices based on what I eat that are aligned with what I believe in. My like political and moral beliefs about our food system and stuff like that. So that to me is success. And then if we were to talk about things like career and finances and material things too, like to me, career success is not about having a certain title. To me, career success is not about reaching a certain level or having a certain amount of control or certain number of people. I think one of the very common things that we're taught to believe in our society, meaning Western, like US and maybe European culture, is that like career success means climbing some sort of a ladder, having some sort of a title, having a certain amount of control, and like making a certain amount of money or something, or it's getting a certain amount of publicity. Let's say maybe you're in the research field and it's about getting papers published, or you're in academia, or if you're an entertainer or performer, maybe it's like you're not actually successful until you get an award or until you I don't know, star in a Hollywood movie instead of an independent film or whatever. It's like there's so many things around that I think are just the assumptions that or like the external things that we're taught to believe are success. To me, career success is not about any of that. To me, career success is getting to do something that I believe in. It's, for me personally, it's definitely being my own boss. I'm like unemployable at this point. So career success means doing something I love. To me, career success means having a positive impact, a bigger and bigger one, and being so committed to being, a force for good and a change maker and like a beacon of hope. There's like dogs barking and ants crawling. To me, career success is showing up bravely and courageously and taking risks and daring to be uncomfortable for the sake of what I believe in and what I believe is my purpose and my mission. So for me, career success is mostly about alignment and about like not doing something that I hate just for a paycheck. It's about doing something that is really meaningful, that's aligned with everything I believe in, and that's having a positive impact. For somebody else, career success might look completely different. Right? For somebody else, maybe they don't need to work because they have a partner who works. But maybe to them, like quote unquote career success means actually spending time volunteering for a cause they believe in, or being so dedicated to parenting that's, that's like the hardest job in the world, in my opinion. And so it's like, fuck all the other stuff. Fuck what anybody else thinks. Fuck what anybody else tells you. What does career success mean to you? And what does interpersonal relationship success mean to you? And what does overall life success mean to you? And financially, it's like, and I know money's a whole loaded topic, and it's something I love to talk about, and I will probably do many, many live streams about that in the future, because I'm working with people more and more on that these days. But for financial success, it's like, who cares what your parents make? Who cares what anybody else make? Like, what do you want to make? And financial success, is it about, it's not just about how much income you pull in. Maybe it's about like, are you being really smart in terms of your financial planning in a way where you feel safe and secure and comfortable, right? For me, financial success is, I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm not looking for predictability and stability and, like comfort, right? I'm looking for possibilities. My financial goals are completely tied to, it's just all about freedom. The more money I make, the more ability I have to choose. The more money I make, the greater the possibilities are for me to have an impact, right? Like if I'm making this much money, I can only do this much to take care of myself and my family, and I can only give a little bit. Whereas if I'm making this much money, not worrying about actual dollar amounts, I can donate more, I can serve more, I can take better care of myself so I have more energy to show up more powerfully and help people more, right? Like to me, like I have massive financial goals, and I'm happy to share them if anybody's curious, but my financial goals are all about freedom. How do I create more freedom for myself, my family, and to go out and have a bigger impact on the world and serve, right? For some people, finances are going to be much more about like really taking care of themselves and being on a healing journey. It's like, it's so personal. So fuck what anybody else thinks. What does success mean to you, and why? I think a lot of us will be like, oh, it's this because that's, I don't know, it's just what it is, or it's what my parents taught me or whatever. But really, like, dig deeper, go underneath that and ask yourself what you really care about. Maybe it's for certain like material things, you know, and I have nothing against material things. I think luxury and material things are awesome. I just think it's messed up when we think that that's like, we replace the inner work just with that, and we use that as the only thing to go for. Like, I think the internal stuff is the most important, and then the material things are nice to have, but we shouldn't rely on them for happiness, right? Like, we should find happiness within, and then if we also want to have nice things, that's great. But for the material things, it's like, why is that important to you, and what are the things that equal success for you? So for some people, you know, I think the thing that I would invite us all to let go of is having success be tied up in certain, you know, cars or houses or whatever, because you're keeping up with the Joneses, because you're trying to impress somebody who you don't even know, you know, or you're trying to impress somebody who you don't even like. It's like, why do that? Why? It's such a waste of time. Instead, it's like, if there are material things that are truly important to you for a reason that's meaningful, then awesome. You know, like, I've realized that for me, something like, let's say, travel, right? So I have goals around up-leveling the way that Chris and I travel in terms of how we fly, and how, you know, we've been on a lot of very like rough and rugged backpacker, you know, buses with no AC that are cramped, where like our long legs literally don't fit. We've done all that, and it's fun, and we can do it, and that's fine. But part of what I've got my eyes set on right now is up-leveling the way we travel, say flying business class, or taking, you know, bigger, nicer buses when we're traveling locally in a country or something, so that we can be more physically comfortable, so that we then have energy to devote to the things that are really important. You know, like for me, if I'm gonna fly somewhere and I'm able to fly in a way that's really comfortable, then I can show up and feel so good and have more energy to give. And for me, for me, it's all about impact. I want to help as many people. I want to serve as many people I can, and I will do a better job of doing that if I can just be physically comfortable. So for me, a lot of material things are tied to actual physical comfort, or they're tied to things that have an energetic impact on me. Like, one of my goals is to live somewhere, or to own properties in a place that have like amazing views, beach views, water views, something like that, not because I'm trying to impress anyone, because I don't give a shit about that, but because if I have a beautiful view, it does something in my brain, where, like, I think for me, it's because seeing water is symbolic of freedom, and freedom's what I'm all about. So when I see that, I get so freaking inspired, and I do work better, I show up better, I just feel better. It's like, gives me a sense of inner peace. And so that's something I'm always kind of choosing for, is like, how do I put myself in beautiful environments and places that inspire me? So it's like, that's a lot of examples, so I'm gonna stop giving examples. But my point is, if you're up for it, I would invite you to think about what, up until now, what has been the definition of success for you in your mind, and how much of those, like, those markers of success, are those actually things that you believe? Are those things that you've just kind of inherited from family or culture, or that, you know, somebody else taught you to believe? And then which of those ones do you want to keep, and which ones do you want to let go of? And then what do you want to choose instead? Like, the old, tired, you know, outdated, mainstream definition of success is just not helpful. Plus, it's just old and tired. It's old and tired, right? Success is what's important to you, you know? So what is it for you? And if anybody would like to share what theirs are, I would love it if you add it in the comments, what success means to you. And I'm happy to say more about any of my examples, but I think that's all for me for now. I always do this. I'll make a coffee and then do a live and completely forget about my coffee. And then it's cold. I'll just show you my view. I'm gonna like just hang out here for a few more seconds. This is the pool. We're in Costa Rica, in case anybody hasn't been following along with our shenanigans. Oh my gosh, my face is so red. One of the reasons we come here a lot is not just because we have friends here that we like to visit, and this is like Chris's happy place, happy place, but one of the reasons I love to be here is because I love to work here. You know, I spend a lot of the days just sitting here by the pool, working outside. I'm like literally in a bathing suit every day because it's too hot to put clothes on. And that to me is success. You know, like, there are a lot of ways now where I look at my life and I feel very successful. And it's mostly the ways that I described. It's like I specifically design my life and intentionally create my reality to be built around the things that I feel are most important to me. So my values, my purpose, things like, for me, it's all about freedom. So location freedom, time freedom, like getting to be my own boss and decide when I work and how and with whom, you know, getting to do work that I love, like, and feeling emotionally free, developing my relationship with myself to be a healthy one, working through my shit, you know, I think we all have shit to work through, but like all of those things to me equal success. So if I had, let's say I had a belief that you're only successful if you have a really respectable job in a corporate role where you have reached management, then I would, if that was my belief, then I would say that I wasn't successful. But that kind of success wouldn't make any sense for me either. I would be so unhappy working in corporate. It's just not my jam, you know? But I have to be self-aware and know who I am and what's important to me and what I want in order to figure that out. So I'm going to leave it at that. Seth, yeah, I love that you're going to think about what your personal definition is. Thank you guys for listening. Anybody who tuned in, anybody who's watching the replay, I appreciate you. I'm trying to do more of these just spontaneous kind of like riffing things when I get inspired. So lots more to come. If there's anything specific that you want to hear my thoughts on too, please let me know, because I have a lot to say. Have a great day. Bye.